Hi Fit Life Foodies, it's Terry. All right, so today's recipe is a roasted vegetable panzanella salad. Now, a panzanella salad came from Italy, from I guess you can say the older days, and they had stale bread and they had vegetables like tomatoes and cucumbers, and they were trying to use up their produce. Well, basically we're doing that, but we're doing roasted vegetables today because, you know, like all of us, we have those vegetables that kind of sit in the refrigerator and we don't know what to do with them. So this is a good way of using up those last of the summer vegetables. And I like to do that. I like to use what we have on hand so that way we're not going out to the store and buying those useless items that kind of sit there. We're also going to be using some stale bread. So if you have some stale, like French bread, this would be perfect. Don't use white bread because it's not hearty enough. So you want a good texture bread to this. All right, so I've already started chopping up some vegetables. And these are just some summer vegetables, some squash, red onions, zucchini, and peppers, and we're going to throw some tomatoes in there as well. You want to make sure all the pieces are uniform in size because they'll cook evenly then. And I like to use just these vegetables right here. I wouldn't throw in broccoli or anything like that just because it's not going to cook very well. It would not hold together well in the salad. And then we're going to make a light vinaigrette after we roast our bread and our vegetables, and then just toss it all together. Let's see. Again, it's a perfect way to use up those vegetables that you have in your refrigerator right now. This would be great for a lunch or a dinner. You could dress it up with roasted chicken, or maybe roasted pork chop, grilled pork chop, or you can just eat it as is and have a nice vegetarian meal. Now you can roast these vegetables out on the grill if you'd like, if you're roasting or grilling some chicken or meat out there, that would be perfectly acceptable. I'm just not using my grill today, so it's going in the kitchen. And the oven I warmed up to 425. All right, let's see. Now, if you followed the previous recipe, which was the shakshuka, you should have plenty of peppers and onions available. And so this is a nice way to use up some of those leftovers that you have. And I hope you enjoyed the shakshuka if you got to try it. I know we did. It was a wonderful dinner. Nice and rich tasting, although it was not a complicated dish to make. It was very simple. So I try to keep my recipes along that line. Nothing too complicated or too complex because I'm just an ordinary cook and nothing fancy, no official training or anything. But I know everybody needs to know some basic recipes and know how to get around in the kitchen. And so I hope you're learning a few of those things. And I like the red onion. It's got that beautiful color. It's gonna look really nice in our salad. It's gonna make me cry, so just ignore the tears. All right, I have some cherry tomatoes, but we're not going to put those in quite yet, not until we get towards the end. I told you they were going to make me cry, and they did. All right, so I have my bowl of vegetables here. You can see beautiful color there, a whole bunch of different colors. And I'm going to toss it with some olive oil. And sorry guys, really made me tear up. Some sea salt. You can use kosher salt as well. Some fresh cracked black pepper. And then I have some dried oregano leaves. And some dried basil leaves. Now I'm using the dried because we're putting it in the oven. And so it's gonna work just fine, but we are gonna finish the salad with some fresh basil that we're going to chop. All right, so there are the vegetables. We're cutting them nicely with olive oil. That was probably about 1/2 cup. And I've got my baking sheets ready. The oven is already preheated to 425. I put some aluminum foil on my baking sheets and sprayed it with some Pam so it doesn't stick. All right, here we go. Now, that is a gorgeous pan of vegetables right there. Love the colors. See how bright they are? Beautiful. All right, so this is going in the oven at 425 degrees. And we're gonna roast them for about 20 minutes. All right, we don't want them cooked and really dark. We want them just a little roast to it, a little color to them. And then we'll just turn them around a little bit and flip them, you know, and then make sure the other side is roasted as well. All right, onto our bread. So you can see I've got this lovely piece of bread here. I chose this one because it is thinner and not that thick bread like the Italian loaves, which are very, I would say doughy. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I'm saying, doughy. And this has got a lot of crust to it. So it's got a really nice crusty exterior. And we want to cube this and toss it with olive oil, and then we're going to toast it. We want the bread to hold up to the vinaigrette. So we want a little bit of texture there. You don't want something that's just going to become a mush and fall apart, okay? So, and this is probably not going to be the right knife. Make sure you use the appropriate knife, it works better. All right, let's see. So I'm just gonna, and I am gonna cut them into cubes after this. And if you find this on the day-old shelf, that's perfect. Like we said, we want something that is stale, so you could leave it out actually overnight, and that would be nice as well. We want bite-sized pieces. We don't want anything too small that's going to fall apart, but we don't want anything too big either that we can't put in our mouth and, you know, chew. We don't want it to be difficult to eat. So everything should be about the same size. Now there's no cheese in the salad, although if you wanted, you could put some feta or some mozzarella in it. But me, I'm just gonna leave it as is and just let the flavors of the vegetable and the vinaigrette shine through. I'll save that end part for my husband since he likes that end part so much. Gotta treat him special, right? It's date night tonight. Can you tell? The saucy lips and the saucy hair. All right. Almost there. I'm gonna do a few more slices. And if you have some bread left over, that would be perfect to serve on the side. Now we're not going to put these in the oven too long because we don't want them to burn. So we're going to wait till our vegetables are mostly done and then throw them in there probably about 10 minutes before they're done and let them toast till they get a nice little crisp to them, and then we're going to take them out. And we want everything to cool to room temperature before we start tossing everything together with our vinaigrette. Let's see, maybe a little bit more. You can never have too much bread, right? Like, who doesn't love a good loaf of bread? I know I do. Because the Italians know how to do it right. I know Harley likes a good loaf of bread too, don't you, Harley? He's our chef in training here. He's looking for any dropped morsels there. Harley, say hi. Whenever we're in the kitchen, he's right here next to us. Okay, so that looks to be enough because the rest of it we're going to save and snack on and have a glass of wine with that while this is cooking. So there's our bread, and we're going to toss it with our a little bit of olive oil. And a little bit of our salt. Don't want too much because we've already salted the vegetables. And of course, fresh cracked black pepper. Don't get the stuff in the jar. Who knows how long that's been sitting on the shelf, right? There we go. All right, just give this a little stir. Let it pick up some of that olive oil. And I use the same bowl that I tossed the vegetables in, and it's gonna pick up a little bit of the vegetable flavors, the juices, and some of the salt and pepper and olive oil from prior. And that's perfectly fine. The less dishes we have to use and dirty, the better off we are, right? Especially when you got a date night. You don't want to spend all your time in the kitchen. All right, so it's going onto our pan. And we're just spreading that out, making sure everything is a nice even layer. Now, I love these size baking sheets just because they're big enough to do whatever you want to on it, and you're not going to crowd your food items. If you start crowding your vegetables and your meats on pans, it ends up pretty much just cooking in its own juices, and so then you don't have a good flavor. You know, everything gets kind of messy. All right, so we're going to let those vegetables cook for about 10 or 15 more minutes. I'm going to check on them in a minute. And then when they've got about 10 minutes left, I'm going to stir the vegetables up, rotate the pan, and put my bread in. So stick around, and we'll come back and pull our vegetables and our bread out and then start making our vinaigrette. All right, well, welcome back. So our vegetables have roasted. Come on over here and take a look at them. So you can see we've got a little browning going on, which is what we want. We've kind of cooked these vegetables a little bit, but not like overcooked them. And then we have our bread that's cooked, and we've got like nice crouton consistency here. So it's a little crisp, which is good because it's gonna hold up with our vinaigrette. So now it's time to make our vinaigrette to toss with our vegetables. So my bowl here, and I'm going to take some olive oil, and I have white balsamic vinegar. Now I'm sure you could use apple cider vinegar as well. It's just really up to you and what you would prefer. That's probably about 3/4 cup there. And then some Dijon mustard. Sorry, on the finger. I'll put about 2 tablespoons in there. And next I have some honey. This is going to sweeten it up a little bit. And black pepper, of course. All right, we're going to whisk this together, and then we're going to slowly add our olive oil to emulsify that. so this is when you need about 3 hands here. So while you're whisking, you're going to slowly add your olive oil. And I don't know if you can see this. I don't know if you can zoom in, but you see this one is made specifically. So you've got the wider end up top and the narrow end. So that way, if you want to pour a lot, you use the wide. And if you want to drizzle, you use the smaller end. It only took me about 50 years to figure that one out. And we got a sample, of course, make sure it's good. Okay, good. All right, so vinaigrette goes to the side. Now we've got to add our components. So we're going over here. Now our vegetables have cooled off. So all this goes into a bowl. And then there's Harley in waiting. Yeah, this would also be a great dish for Thanksgiving or for family get-together because it really makes a large helping, and it's really as much as you want to make. So you could increase this or double this easily. You would just double your vinaigrette. And you can do this ahead of time as well, so that way you're not using up your oven space. And as we get closer to the holidays, we'll start talking about some holiday recipes, and I'll start showing you a few recipes that you can try that your family will enjoy. All right, mix our bread. And you might think, oh, it's going to be soggy with the dressing. Well, because we have toasted our bread and it's got that stale crouton consistency, it will actually hold up to that vinaigrette. It's going to absorb it, but it'll also hold up nicely. Okay. All right, so here is our salad. We're just going to give this a stir. All right, before we add our vinaigrette, we're going to add our tomatoes. So I have some nice cherry tomatoes here. I'm not going to add all of these, and I'm going to have them as well. And again, this is a perfect way to use up that leftover or discarded vegetables that we just don't know what to do with. And you don't want a salad all the time, right? We get tired of cooking the vegetables the same way. So this is a nice alternative to that. It's nice and fresh, and it's not real heavy. It's great to pack in your lunch, and leftovers are gonna be perfect tomorrow. Like I said, we could serve this with some grilled chicken or some nice pork chops. It's really up to you. It would even go well with a steak or by itself. You can add some feta cheese or some mozzarella in there as well. All right, I think that's plenty. And now I've got some fresh basil from my garden here, and we're just going to give this a nice rough chop here. Take big stems. There's nothing that beats fresh basil in the smell. It's just amazing. Of course, we think of basil, we think of Italian food, and this is exactly what we're doing right here. All right, and to stir. Look at that color. That is beautiful right there, if I don't say so myself. Beautiful vegetable colors. You've got the fresh pop of tomatoes there and our green basil. All right, now it's time to toss our vinaigrette in there. Let's give it one final stir. Here we go. Gorgeous. No, doesn't that look beautiful? Got the gorgeous vegetables and the crunchy bread and that nice vinaigrette to flavor it. Man, that's a feast right there in a bowl. All right, time to present it, right? I need a bigger spoon than that. Some of the tomatoes, vegetables. There we go. And let's garnish it with a little basil on the side. All right, and there is our roasted vegetable panzanella salad with a nice vinaigrette, and enjoy it with a glass of wine. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this, and thanks for eating with me today. Stay tuned. Next week I will hopefully have something new, like how to cook some unusual vegetables such as spaghetti squash or butternut squash or acorn squash. It's all sitting there and we kind of don't know what to do with it, and I just want to give you some different ideas so that way you can utilize those beautiful produce. Take care and hope to see you soon. Ciao.